good evening. Hey, Dan's laughing already, everybody. It's a Get Out and Grow crew, the Fresh Air crew. Get Out and Grow. Happy Homesteaders here for the gardening Q&A. 6:15 on a Monday evening in Portugal and London, Greenwich Mean Time zones, where we all find ourselves. Before we go to our special guest, how's everybody doing? How are you doing, Anna?
Yeah, doing all right. Yes, it's been a little bit rainy on and off here at the moment, but I've had a day in and just had a little bit of an update about my keyboard, which has been away for a few weeks getting repaired. In the process, managed to lose the adapter as well, sending it off to get fixed. So hopefully that will be coming back soon. Yes, slightly different week work-wise. So I started off doing a third day last week and heard it's a bit different this week. So yeah, work's keeping busy and just keeping up with everything. So on the go quite a bit at the moment.
Well done. We can't have you without a keyboard, and hopefully you'll play for us again someday when we have a party here on the Happy Homesteaders show. That'll be great. John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Obviously, looking forward to tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes because because obviously I think a lot of the listeners will know, the original kind of idea for this show was to look at gardening but with an accessibility and disability angle, and it sort of went away from that for a bit, and now it seems to have started coming back to it. So hopefully it'll go quite well, and hopefully we'll be able to and
Fingers
hopefully
crossed,
I haven't caused too many problems or caused any confusion, because I don't know if my organisational skills have been very good here, but we'll soon find out, I suppose.
Yeah, John. So it worked.
Well, we did invite Alan Titchmarsh, but it's okay. Dan's absolutely fine. So it's worked out just fine, I think, John, is safe to say. We'll come to you in just a moment, Dan. Head gardener Lee McGrady, how are you? How's Lisbon this evening?
Beautiful again. It's too nice. I wish we were getting some of Anna's rain, to be honest. We got a little cloudy day on Friday, but it rained for like 2 minutes. I'm sick of it. It's just too nice.
Too nice. Too many blue skies in Lisbon for the head gardener there. Oh, and our special guest this evening then, Mr. Dan Hall from Torquay in Devon as well, just down the road from Anna and John. Dan, how are you? It's so good to see you again.
Buenas noches, is it? Or tardes? Or is that Spanish?
Yeah, don't do that. Botarde is what you might. Yes. Okay, goodbye. No, only kidding. The Portuguese can get a little bit funny if you speak to them in Spanish, and it's an understandable thing. I guess it's a bit like someone rocking up in Torquay and talking to you in Welsh. It's from Patagonia, and they've taken a lot of trouble to. I mean, not that you get offended, but you might be a little bit confused, right?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Great to be here.
So good to have you here. A disability advocate, mentor, advisor, sometime advisor to Her Majesty's Police Force, I believe, or the Devon and Cornwall Constabulary on issues of disability.
One of many authorities that I've done consultancy for, and I hope it's made a difference on some accounts.
I'm sure it has. And a keen gardener as well. I think you love nature, don't you?
I absolutely love nature. I'm out all day, every day, if the weather allows it. My little dog makes me go out, so that perhaps is a reason to go out. So even if I don't garden, I'm sat in parks or along the coast of Tor Bay, which is absolutely beautiful. And we've made friends with a buzzard at the moment who's very tame and comes down.
Seriously?
And, sits about 10 foot away from you and just stares at you. Amazing bird. And since the gales we had last week, we haven't seen him, which we're quite worried about. But then he could have been blown away or he's blown into other areas. But yes, it's a beautiful part of the world. We're very lucky to live here in this little microclimate.
On the English Riviera, made famous, of course, by Agatha Christie, right?
Agatha Christie, that's right, yes. We've got Dartmoor on one side, the sea on the other. So the weather is caught by Dartmoor if it's coming from that direction. So we get it quite mild. So it can be a couple of degrees warmer here than up the M5 towards the Midlands. So we're very lucky.
Where you originally come from, of course, my babber.
Yeah, where the Balties were made.
Where the Balties come from. Okay, so in the house tonight, Belfast. Deagle's here. Bon night. Thank you for being here, Dan. We'll come back to you, of course, and ask you your counsel and wisdom on your experience of gardening and encouraging others to do so. Deagle's here from Belfast. Bon night. Big stretch in daylight in Belfast, 6 p.m. and no street lighting yet. Really looking forward to mid-March. Get cracking in the greenhouse. Lots of small seedlings in trays indoors at the moment. And I think we've got some pictures from Deagle's garden tonight. Hello, all from Oregon. How about that? The OLP is here. We have spinach, arugula. That's rocket, isn't it? Radishes and kale sprouting in our greenhouse. A lot of greenhouse action around the world. It's a very rainy and windy day here in Oregon. It's 10:10 in the morning. Have you got any pictures? Am I up to date with the pictures that you sent in, OLP? Do let me know. Paul, Louise and Lottie, Central Portugal. Boa tarde a todos. That's what you meant to say, isn't it, Dan? It's been a busy week. Moaz is in New York. Good evening to you. I think you, Dan and Moaz have something in common in being apartment or flat dwellers, but that doesn't mean you can't garden. Let us know your collective experience, both of you tonight. Mexico, Eric Huizer is here. Hello, Eric. How are you? T-Duck in Lisbon, as well as the head gardener, Botards. Baldylocks is in California tonight as well. Or not now tonight, in his morning, of course. And hello, all my fellow gumpers from the OLP. And Pete Bleachers as well. Botards have vultures here. You've got the buzzards on the English Riviera. Pete's got vultures at the moment. Looking forward to getting Lee. What, with the vultures? No, okay. Looking forward to getting Lee and Jazz's opinion on the farm. Go on, Lee.
I'm heading up to Pete Bleach in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go up and have a look at his land and have a beer or three, I imagine. Yeah.
I imagine you will. Be nice to see what everyone is planting. Chamomile harvesting here. Plenty of veg in the ground. Chamomile harvesting. What's that about, head gardener?
He posted pictures online during the week of his chamomile paddock. It looks beautiful. It just looks gorgeous. So,
yes, so if you have a little roll around in that grass, yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much, Pete. If you've got a picture, that would be great to see that. So, Anna, have we got any formal questions in, or should we just go straight into the questioning of Dan, who's here tonight?
We've got a couple for Lee. I was just sort of thinking of some for Dan as well. I'm happy to
take it away. You go ahead. And John, please quiz Dan. That's what he's here for.
But I was going to say I could start with one for Dan, which I've got. Was there anything that's helped you get into gardening? And if it was a recent interest, if you like, is there anything that you would like to learn more about in gardening?
Question to me, right? My interest in gardening started at a very early age. My mum had a huge garden which she cultivated, mainly herbaceous borders, the old-fashioned English cottage garden type of thing. So learning all the Latin names was quite interesting. And since leaving home and moving to Devon, I may be a flat dweller, but I've got a lot of friends that have got a lot of big gardens, very different gardens. Some are very Mediterranean with grasses, a lot of palms. And then the others are traditional roses, camellias, buddleia, and perennials. So it's a real mix. I just love going into different gardens at different times of the year, especially at the moment. It's all coming to life. You've got the almond blossom coming on the blossom trees in the parks, very pink. I think it's ornamental almond. If you could correct me, I don't think there's actually almonds growing on it, unlike there would be in Portugal. But the narcissi, the crocus, the snowdrops, they're actually coming to an end, and we're getting full-on rosemary bushes full of beautiful blue little flowers now, and the gorse is even flowering in little micro pockets around the bay where it would be very sheltered and the winds wouldn't get them, the salt, etc. So they're very advanced. They're a good month or 5 to 6 weeks ahead of anywhere else. So yeah, that would be my experience of gardening, loving what's about at the time.
I was really feeling that, Dan. Did you get that, Lee? Did you feel a little bit homesick for the UK the way Dan was explaining it there?
I was going to say, I'm almost missing home after that. Almost missing home after that. Yeah. I do miss the goss, and I miss the buddleia. I miss the goss and the buddleia. They're amazing.
Yeah, there's a white buddleia, and of course the common purple, which embeds itself in the walls we have around here in Torbay and pushes the walls out. They can actually grow in nothing. I don't know how they survive, but yeah, the gorse. I'll show you a picture this morning. Can you see
fantastic!
that?
Thank you. Oh, look at this! Beautiful.
That was from this morning.
Beautiful goss.
That was from this morning. The lavender hasn't started to flower, of course. The rosemary's covered in blue flowers.
Oh, fantastic.
The verbena is flowering.
That's early.
The reason I've shown you that links in perfectly with the disabled aspect, because those plants were from the Rotary Club garden in Torwood Street in Torquay, which they developed for the blind 15 years ago. It was left to go rack and ruin and everything took over, but a group of really kind volunteers have taken it back now, not Rotary Club, and bringing it back for disabled people and especially people with sight impairment. So they can come and smell the verbena because it's extremely scented. The buddleia is very scented. The gorse is prickly. They may not see the colours, but they can feel the textures. And there's a lot of they leave the grass to grow very high. So when it dries, the wind blows through and you get this rustling noise. So they get that sensory aspect from that. So I'm very lucky that that's being reborn, so to speak.
Oh, bless you, Dan. Thank you. That's so thoughtful, capturing those pictures. Could you just go through those sensory again?
The what, Carl?
Could you go through if you name those sensory herbs and plants again?
The plants that originally they planted, which are still there, are lavender, of course. So that will come out in the summer. So they can pinch that and crush it and have that smell of lavender. Yeah. The verbena is growing now and it is flowering now, but it's very low to the ground. So I couldn't get down there. I could have got down there, but I would never have got up, and I wouldn't be able to be on tonight because I'd still be on the floor. But
right.
But the smell from the verbena is absolutely beautiful. The gorse has got a prickly texture, so you get that sensory feeling. And they leave all the high, tall, dry grasses with the seed heads on. One for the animals can take the seeds, and then the wind, as you're sitting round, it's a circular garden with lots of benches, and they all look into the middle of the garden, and that's where the circle of lavender is. So I'm sure I haven't actually seen the lavender flower yet. They've only cleared the detritus, the empty vodka bottles and everything that's been chucked there for 10, 15 years, and nothing's been done. So at last, these lovely volunteers are taking over, and it's looking really good. So I thought I'd take those photographs this morning, and I'm going to take photographs monthly to see how the garden develops. And hopefully, we haven't got a Royal Society for blind people here in Torquay like we did years ago. But I'm sure there's organisations that would bring people with sight impairment down, so they can actually sit in that circle and enjoy those smells.
Oh, superb, Dan. Moaz, very much interested in today's topic, gardening for people with disabilities. We'll keep talking about this. Lee, I think you wanted to chip in something there.
No, I love sensory gardens, and originally they were put in with disabilities in mind. But they're great for everybody, from children to OAPs, and the selection of plants in sensory gardens are also quite bird and bee beneficial because they're all strong scented, especially like the buddleias that are really bright coloured. They're great for the birds, they're great for the bees as well. So everybody's a winner when it comes to sensory gardens.
Can I ask a question?
Go on, Dan.
Why is it important to have yellows in a garden? Because does that attract insects more than other colours of flowers? Because it seems to me that daffodils, they have the bumblebees go in the daffodils, and they are full of nectar as well. And the gorse is all yellow. I'm just wondering if yellow is if you wear a yellow T-shirt, wasps and bees are attracted to me. So I'm wondering if they think I'm a big daffodil.
If you look back in history to how plants develop themselves, yellow was always a very early plant. All the plants that come up first in the year tend to all be yellow, and then it goes through colours and it all ends in white. And I don't know what the benefits are to nature. I don't know if it attracts a certain type of species of insect, or it produces stronger pollen because of the time of year. But yeah, I read a book many years ago, and it briefly touched on it, and I always thought I'd look more into, but never got round to it. But yeah, all the best native wild flowers in England that come up first are all yellow. Yeah.
Excellent. Now we have a beekeeper here tonight. Dominique is in. A new name to me. You maybe in our group on Facebook, of course, the Happy Homesteaders. Get out and grow on Facebook. Please join that group. Post your pictures. Great time of year to be doing that. Hi from Holland, says Dominique. This week I saw my bees out for the first time. So a beekeeper, we're thinking, so pleased that they've survived the winter. So a tense time of year then for the beekeeper to make sure the bees are okay. And agreeing there with you, Lee, about yes to yellow. And you, Dan, but bees very much like shades of blue and purple as well. So there you go. Yeah, and you get
the rosemary, don't they? The rosemary bushes, and that's yellow, a bit purple, and the buddleia is purple.
Yep, and you get a rosemary rosemary honey, don't you? Of course. Lots of great comments. We'll come back to you, Dan, in just a moment, if we will, because I think Anna and John will have further questions for you. But let's catch up with everybody. Go on. Was that Lee?
The real shame about the buddleia, especially Buddleia divinii, it's an invasive species. Although it is an amazing plant and one of my all-time favourite garden plants, they are wild at the moment in the UK. And there's a concerted effort to get rid of the ones that are growing in buildings and on railway lines and on canal embankments. So they need to be controlled, but they are an amazing plant.
Yeah, beautiful colours, those purples and whites again, aren't they? So going back to Pete's comment about the vultures there, and he's wanting your opinion. So I think he's looking forward to your visit there, Lee, as well as Jason, of course, who's been on the show and shown his garden, and we want to have him back. But the chamomile harvesting that Pete's talking about there, we've got the pictures. Thanks, Pete. Thanks for that prompt and that reminder. So let's have a look. This is part of Pete's land plot here, looking back towards the house there, I think. And up towards an old well. I don't know if he's thinking of recommissioning that at all. And then another long view, and we'll start to zoom in to the beautiful chamomile flowers. Look at this, everybody. Aren't they lovely? I mean, and we're talking about big scale planting and harvesting of chamomile here. What are you going to do with those, Pete? Is it for tea? Are you making chamomile tea possibly there? And perhaps as a medicinal use as well. But they are so beautiful. That's like it's like a flower that a child would draw. It's the classic flower archetypal shape, isn't it? So thank you, Pete. Thank you very much for those. Indeed, really appreciate it. Back to a few more comments then. Paul, Louise, Lottie. This will be Louise, I think. Highball Deluxe have sent Carl a photo of one of our roses in Portugal to show very healthy bush. And we all have a healthy bush, don't we, Dan? A very healthy bush outside our front door. Let's take a look at those pictures now from Louise from earlier on today. And I think this is the one here, isn't it? No, that's not a rose, is it? What is that? Is that honeysuckle plant? No, I'm guessing.
Tree blossom.
Yes, and I don't even know if
it's some sort of tree blossom, I think.
That is a tree blossom, isn't it? Beg your pardon. And so that's the rose. There's the rose there. Garden. So tell us what that is as well there, or I'll go back to your original message and find out as well. And some lovely blooms in your garden, Louise. Thank you so much for those. Is this back in UK or is this Portugal? I think it is Portugal. Look at that schist stone there. And then I think I see some rosemary and a lot of cuttings growing there. Let's see what you said when you sent all of that in to us, for which we are very grateful. Oh, OLP has sent in a few bits and pieces as well. That's fantastic. So with Louise's pictures came this. Hope that you're enjoying the sun. 4 pics for this evening's show. Roses outside the front door, following on from last week's discussion to demonstrate they do grow healthily in Portugal. Orange arctotis, all following the sun. Potting area just starting to get busy again, and fruit trees. It was fruit tree blossom, well spotted, of course. The head gardener picked that up. So fruit tree blossom there. Yeah, that could well be apple blossom, couldn't it? And back for you, Baldilocks. That rose bush is looking very healthy, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. So thank you very much, Louise. Anyone else want to send pictures in? 913-590-303. Let's go back to Dan and the quizzing. Accessible gardening. Then Anna, John, any more questions for Dan?
Yes, I have one now. Obviously, we just spoke reasonable, decent about sensory gardens. So, because my original question was going to be, what would your advice be on any thoughts you might have on what would be a good ways for accessible gardening? So we've covered the sensory gardening now. So do you, because you and I actually discussed this a little bit when we were trying to plan this a bit, didn't we, last week? So I was just wondering if you could tell the viewers some of the other ideas you felt might work for people.
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, we started, if we're going to design a garden for people with mobility issues, you want hard surfaces to actually access the garden in the first place. So not loose gravel, not deep gravel, because wheels get stuck in it. You want something quite hard, compacted gravel, concrete, tarmac, that sort of thing. Definitely not bark chips, because I have difficulty going over them and they get clogged in your motor, and you can't have bark chips clogging your motor. And then once you get to the garden, you want something that you can reach. So high beds or angled beds, where I mean, you can drive the wheelchair, wait a minute, where's the camera? Into the wall. Yeah. Oh, I've got the wrong angle way. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you can drive it in and then reach over. Yes. So you're actually in the garden. You're not reaching in to a garden.
Yeah. Yep. Got it. I'll try and find a picture if I can.
You understand that? Yeah. So not too high, 2 or 3 feet off the ground. And then as for gardening, you can buy so many adapted tools with long handles, with clip-on the attachment. So you buy one handle, then you can have a hoe attachment, a mat hook attachment, a spade attachment. You can even have secateurs with strings and ropes to actually pull down and cut things. They're all readily available and really reasonably priced. And there we are. Carl's got pictures now of really, yeah, things that you can get if you're in a wheelchair to get underneath. And you've got the garden and the plants right on your chest. The worst thing to do is to have to stretch and ask people to help you, because the whole idea is for you to have independence and garden yourself.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Some amazing things available, aren't there? And you obviously, if you're capable of building yourself or getting someone else to do it, there are some great visuals here to trigger you into making your own creations. But what a lovely selection of photos there to help people who need a little bit of an accessibility edge there. Thank you for that, Dan. So anything else, John or Anna, you want to ask Dan?
I was just going to say, is there anything that's helped you get into gardening? And I was going to say, what would you recommend to help others get into gardening that don't quite know how to go about it?
That's a great question, Anna, because it's like, where to begin?
Well, why not visit a garden? Actually, like a National Trust garden, you may not be able to visit if you've got mobility issues. Go around some of the castles and the stately homes of the UK, but the gardens are usually enormous, with good hard surfaces, and go and visit those. See how they're set up, see what plants you actually like, and talk to the gardeners, and then go back. It depends. If you've got just a window box, grow herbs, because that's gardening. The herbs are then used in your cooking, and you can just enjoy watching them grow. I grew sunflowers on the balcony last year, and they actually went straight. Well, they were 13. One was 13 foot high.
On your balcony?
It grew out of the balcony, and all it was in a bucket. It grew in a bucket, but
Fantastic.
you've got to water it, and you've got to feed it, because it has no access to water, and it has no access to good fertilizer. So a good tomato-based fertilizer worked for me. And then, of course, the big seed head I took to our local park, and I just put it into the bushes so the birds can peck at the seeds.
Fantastic. Now, it's funny you should mention sunflowers, because Dee Dee's here, and some pictures came in via Lee. Backstory, both you, Lee, and Dee Dee here, but this is in response, of course, to the Ukrainian crisis. Look at this, the colours of the Ukraine there, and sunflower seeds. Of course, the sunflower against the blue sky resonates, echoes the Ukrainian flag. But if you look closely, I didn't get this at first, but look, those are threaded sunflower seeds. Exactly what you were just talking about, Dan. Isn't that a beautiful bit of work, and a great,
absolutely beautiful,
a really good way to honour the people of Ukraine there? And I think, did Dee Dee make these recently then, Lee, as a response?
As far as I know, she made them yesterday, because I saw her on Saturday, and she didn't mention it then, and she mentioned me today with them. So we briefly spoke yesterday about it.
Yeah,
so
and that's how they
made them yesterday.
From a single sunflower seed there. That's quite amazing. Very beautiful, Dee Dee. Thank you so much. If you've got any more visuals or video or anything that you'd like us to share, we'd be glad to do so. So sunflowers on the balcony, amazing. So that must have been quite a spectacle, looking up from the street at your balcony.
Well, they don't take much room, actual footprint. They're very dramatic up top. So
Yes.
Because the balcony is very small, you don't want lots of pots, but one pot and a big sunflower. I think it was probably about 1.5 foot across. It was enormous.
Beautiful.
It was enormous. And the leaves, it actually hasn't got many leaves, and what they are, they're very, very small. So, and I didn't realise, but a sunflower stem is very prickly.
Yes. So there you go, Anna. Is that a good answer to the question, how to get started? I mean, great. You'd be so proud of yourself, wouldn't you, if you grew a 13-foot sunflower at your first go?
I've never grown one ever. You often think that you do it at school and it's your first plant, but I've never grown a sunflower. So, but it drinks water, and it constantly drinks water.
Oh, okay, keep an eye on that. And yeah, have a relationship with a sunflower on your balcony. Peter, sounds awesome, mate. We've got to go back to that. No, further back. Oh my goodness. Thank you, everybody, for all your lovely comments here. The pictures were sent in. Oh, and that's Eric responding to Pete. We have lettuce. This is over in Mexico now. Lettuce, garlic, beans, potatoes, sweet potatoes, pak choy, pak soy, maize, loofah. Oh, growing loofahs, romero, menta, herba, biena, ruda, vapor rub. Oh, you can grow that. Maracuja, I guess that's the passion fruit, passion flower, isn't it? With flowers there. Anything take your fancy there, head gardener?
All of it. But I'm just going back to the sunflower. It's what we spoke about before, and this is a great example. You can grow absolutely anything on a balcony. It's amazing what you can fit into a small space.
Yeah.
I know you said your sunflower was 13 foot. Did you say 13 foot?
Yeah, 13
I grew a tomato plant on my balcony last year that got to 12 and a bit. So my tomato was almost as big as your sunflower. And it's all possible from one small container.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the feeding then. Dan, that's something...
Grateful. I've grown... Sorry. I've grown sunflowers every year. We grow them in the garden here every year. I grew them back in England every year. They're just so nice to look at, and the birds at the end of the year get so much benefit from them. They're just well worth growing anyway.
Now, watering fairly straightforward. It's a thirsty plant, but feeding, excuse me, that's something a beginner's not going to know a lot about. You've got a small bucket. You've got to make sure it's fed because it's not in the ground. What do you feed a sunflower for the newbies, for the beginners?
Me, I did it. I used tomato feed, just an ordinary tomato feed seaweed, isn't it? It's very dark and black. So you put a cap full in a couple of litres of water, stir it round, and it fed it, and it was absolutely beautiful. So it was just a basic cheap tomato feed, and I started with that as soon as it was a little tiny shoot.
As you saw, yeah, amazing. Oh, did you grow it from a small plant or from a seed?
Yeah, no, from a seed.
From a seed. Wow. Okay, so just like we saw earlier on, then you're looking at this. You can make a necklace or grow the plant that Dan's talking about there. Superb. Thank you very much for all the comments and questions that are coming in. Capricorn 12 is here. Hola todos. Lee, you legend. What's going on there then? And Pete Bleach sounds awesome to Eric. We have beetroot, lettuce, potatoes, garlic. I love these roll calls of the garden. Beetroot, lettuce, potatoes, garlic, peppers, and onions. Vapor rub we have. Eucalyptus ages away from the farmhouse. Is that what you mean? So vapor rub is not the same as eucalyptus, is it, Lee? We've talked about this one before.
No. We have, and I've since that I've Googled it to have a look.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's a different plant.
A bush that you rub. I think we've frozen him up there. And Lee, question for you: if you can hear us, the neighbour. It's all right. The neighbour beside our property in the Algarve has planted 13 pine trees, 5 meters from our properties. I'm worrying about processionary caterpillars in the future. How far would you plant a pine tree away from the house to avoid such a thing happening and keeping it safely?
1,000,000 miles. 1,000,000 miles.
Okay. No fan.
They grow so big, and they grow so quickly. Planting it so close to the house is never a good idea. And when you've got to think in the future when it gets so big, you need to start doing pruning jobs on it. You need to keep it tidy. But there are a lot of great traps available now for the caterpillars. It's I think we're finally catching up with them on trapping and poisoning. Well,
flamethrowers,
poison, spraying. Yeah. So I wouldn't. I tell you, I'm going to invent a drone with a flamethrower on it. There's got to be money in it. There's got to be money to be made in it.
There's got to be.
But I wouldn't worry too much.
Okay.
The neighbour next door here has several nests in her tree, and I've gone round and put a trap on, and she had no problem with me getting access to put a trap on it. So
okay, good man. Good man.
Okay.
Speak nicely. Great variety of crops there, Pete. You have a great climate for it, of course, over here in Portugal, in central Portugal. Ditto here, Pete, from Louise. Still eating butternut squash and onions stored from before Christmas, Natal, and have a freezer full of tomatoes, beans, peppers, ratatouille, nespera. Or is that two separate things, or is that a kind of nespera? I love nespera fruits, pears, plums, apples, and rhubarb. Oh, yum! Fantastic. And Moaz, I don't have a disability per se, but I do have some limited mobility issues. So hopefully this is helpful tonight for you, Moaz. All those things you're growing. Vapor rub is also known as the Vix plant. Of course it is. Plectranthus tomentosa. Don't rub your eye. Like with many things from the garden, don't be rubbing your eye or sensitive parts of your body after dealing with such things. Dan obviously has experience of that. All our seedlings are already in the soil. How about yours? And Carl, I live in a house now. Sorry, my mistake. I do beg your pardon. Yep. Same here. I will have to look out for that. Love vapor. Yes to yellow. Okay, that was earlier on, wasn't it, about the bees? Thank you, Dominique. And it might be that Fiona and Simon want to talk to you on a bit of beekeeping knowledge there. Vapor, and great for a sensory garden, the old vapor rub Vix plant. Dominique from Louise, looks of bees out here around the roses, or lots of bees around the roses, rosemary, borage, usually still in flower, and calendula. Borage you'd add, I think, Dan and Lee, wouldn't you, to those lovely blue and lilac and purple flowers?
Yeah, borage is beautiful, yeah.
It is, isn't it? And apricot blossom, that was earlier on. I think we will make some lotion and soap with our olive oil and leave some for tea. Not my cuppa, given how great the coffee and beer are here. Look at that. You can make some lavender or rosemary soap, can't you, with your olive oil as well? Amazing. We're newbies, say Fiona and Simon, currently learning about beekeeping. We have a flow hive, and we'll be putting out a swarm trap in a month or so. That's exciting. Love some pictures of that. And Eric also making soap from lavender that they grow there. Works great and smells delicious. And I'm sure you do too, Eric, after you've used that soap. Louise, Fiona and Simon, we're also interested in a flow hive. Can we ask where you bought yours from? So can you exchange that info there, please? We've lavender too, says Peter, but we have to admit that it is commonly used to cover the smell of urine back. Oh, okay. Is that what it's used for? Is that when you were a municipal gardener? Were you using it around public conveniences, Lee?
No, never. Well, it sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea to cover the smell of urine quite often back in the UK. That will be the soap we will sell. Well, there you go. You could call it Old British Lav or something like that, couldn't you? Our special soap brand, Old British Carsey or something like that. Peter Bleach, good luck, Fiona. Simon sounds fab. And Pete Bleach, if we would not have a job, we would sell soaps of our lavender and other herbs. People pay good money for it. That's an interesting thing there. How easy is it? I mean, people have this idea, don't they, head gardener, to make a little cottage industry from their garden. Realistically, how many people make it doing something like that, do you think?
I think it really depends on your advertising and your background. I know a guy back in England that makes soaps out of his own garden, and he does really well. But he charges a large amount for his soaps, and people pay it. You know, so there's always opportunity. I know a chap up in Scotland as well, a beekeeper up there, and he did the same. He was making heather honey, his bees were solely on the heather moors, and it was 3 times the price of the honey at the supermarket. But he was selling at farmers markets where you can get a better rate for better price for your product, and he was doing really well. Drove a nicer car than me. So there is money, but it's just finding that niche market that you can get the maximum amount of money for your input into it.
Anna, didn't you work somewhere where it was like a cottage industry selling specialist grasses and/or confetti? One of those projects.
At Dawlish for a while they were doing ornamental grasses. I can't remember how many different types there were, but there were literally loads of them. We were literally just sort of cutting them back and letting them grow back, and lots of different. They were
sending them all over the country, I think, weren't they, in that particular project? And confetti, what a lovely little industry! If you can make that happen with organic confetti from the garden, what a lovely thing to do. Lidl, says Pete, are doing some great high planters for the disabled at the moment. Wow, Lidl. Double up as chamomile dryers too for the moment. Nice one, Lidl. Well done. Andy Gilchrist is here. Carl, Lee, Pete, can we have a Dan as well, please? Say hello to our friend Dan, if you will. Andrew Gilchrist, he's over there in the UK. Maybe like you are at the moment. Priority bus seats in the UK often have the scent of lavender, as well as being warm and mildly moist. Thank you, Pete. Thank you very much for that. Simon! DD, made it yesterday. So let me just put that back on the screen there, this beautiful creation of yours. Made it yesterday. They're prayer beads. Lee said last week that gardening centres were closed on Sunday, so I went to Pet Shop and got rabbit food and picked out the sunflowers. That's absolutely beautiful, DD. Great job there. Thank you very much. What a lovely thing to do. Yeah, and of course, prayers for the people of the Ukraine. Paul, Louise, Lottie from Fiona and Simon, we have learnt that the flow hive frames fit any Langstroth hive. Do you know what they're talking about, Lee?
No idea.
Okay.
I get the gist of what a flow hive is, and it's to attract your initial population, to attract a swarm, and then you can transfer that into a proper hive where you start to collect the honey from.
All right.
But yeah, I'm not that clued up on beekeeping. So
okay, fair enough. If we put Dee Dee on Dan's balcony in a pot and give her tomato food, will that help with her 5'2" stature? Dan's up for it, I think.
And return her at 13 feet.
Okay. Moaz is admiring your bush there. Beautiful, says Moaz. I used to have a beautiful rose garden in Phoenix there. And yes, as the kit doesn't have 10 broad frames for the bottom box, I think that's beekeeping talk there. What a beautiful rose. Do you know the name of that? Let me just very quickly bring it onto the screen. We are drawing to a close this evening. Thank you, Dan, for being here. Look at that. But there you go.
Thank you for having me.
What is the name of that? I mean, before you go, though, anything we've missed? Anything else you want to ask Anna, John? Anything else you want to mention, Dan, or Lee, indeed?
Well, I'm always available if you want me to come on in the future. So any other questions?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Even if you're not a wheelchair user, these are good for people like me who can't bend and need to be sitting while working. Thank you, Dan, from Moaz there. And I always enjoy rubbing a rosemary bush, says Thunder Duck. The daffodils, stop it. The daffodils are out in force now in the UK. And that, again, makes you miss the UK a little bit, doesn't it, Lee? He's frozen. I think. Hi, OLP. No name. Inherited with the property. So we don't know the name of that pink rose. Lee, did you want to add something there?
No, just it's been a great show. Thanks for coming on, Dan. It's been a breath of fresh air.
No, my pleasure. Good to meet you.
People gardening in Portugal, make sure you got on your fruit trees this next week or two before the end of the season for pruning. That's a bit of advice.
Bit of pruning there. OLP saying a lot of California beekeepers are putting GPS on their boxes and many are being stolen. Can you believe that? It's a brave person who puts a beehive in the back of their vehicle, though, isn't it? And Carl, final request then from you, Dan, or for you. Carl, please bring back the picture of Dan's garden. I want to take a screenshot on my phone. Can we do that, Dan? Have you got those pickies on the screen still?
Yeah, they're on laptop though.
Oh, okay.
Do you want them? Right. Okay.
If you can send them, if you can send them to the Facebook group, mate. If you join the Facebook group,
I
you
can
post
do
them in that.
Yeah, I'll post them on the Facebook.
That'd be a better quality picture.
All right, just finally, then, I understand if you've got to go, John, but we're going to Belfast and the pictures from Deagle, who's enjoyed the show this evening. Thank you for sorting out Dan tonight, John.
That's okay. I was just going to say, Anna's got a couple of questions that you haven't, Anna, and I don't think we've answered them yet from memory.
Go on then.
Sorry, I was just didn't know if anyone had noticed. That's all.
Well done, you did, which is great. Thank you.
I was just trying to work out if I'd asked Fiona's or Michelle's. They're the only two that I had from the group. I can't remember which one I started with.
To be honest, Anna, I don't remember us.
Go on, ask him again. Ask him again. Let's see. We'll be
the one from Fiona was, could we ask for more info on how to plant things with water conservation in mind? This year is going to be a tough one for many over here. And Michelle's was, is anyone recycling their grey water for their garden? If so, are there resources for designing and installing systems in Portugal?
Should we carry water and water conservation forward to next week, Lee?
It's a big subject. Yeah. I think it might be better to do a water special.
Okay. Yeah, we're looking at a drought year, aren't we? So let's carry that forward. Sorry, Michelle and Fiona there, but we'll take that in next week. And we'll just conclude on a few pictures tonight from Belfast. I want to put in a few in myself, if you don't mind, as well. But look, we're looking at Deagle's lovely garden over there in Belfast. A few seedlings coming on the windowsill in the kitchen there. That's the way to do it, isn't it? And look at that rainfall in Belfast. You want some of that over here in Lisbon. That's incredible, that amount of rainfall over in there. My goodness! Look at that. And some propagating going on there. On the kitchen sink as well. That's fantastic, Deagle. Thank you for those. Kazza Munson, Mrs. M's been busy as well. Look at that. Those things over on the right, she thought were, what did she think they were? Turns out they're chickpeas. She's growing chickpeas. And look at this, our lovely, you know that thing I was describing to you, Lee? The raised bed in the garden? That's how it's looking at the moment. Very, very pleased with that. And a bit more of Mrs. M's growing there. Some lovely salad leaves in the garden. So we've turned a once barren paved back garden into a site of some interest and edibles more important.
Salad harvest. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what have you got going on here then, Lee? We've got a picture from you to finish with tonight. What's this?
That's my plum tomato bed. I put me 14, 15 plum tomato plants in today. They've come out of the seed trays and are finding the ground. But I put a black membrane down. And I've cut holes in the membrane and put the plugs through the holes. And that's a good way to retain water, to hold the water in the ground. the water feed is underneath the membrane, so it's never on the surface. It's never in direct sunlight, so I can water less and retain more without the evaporation.
Top tip to end with. Top tip to end with there. Let's leave it there. I'll come back with yeah, carry on with the water conservation. Good plan for next week. Thank you, John. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Head Gardener Lee McGrady. And of course, thank you so much, Dan. And we would be delighted to have you back on the show sometime in the future. It's been great to see you tonight. Thank you so much. And I will carry on with your comments over the closing sequence tonight, which is that lovely music. Let's groove, everybody.